Today, we're taking a deep dive into something truly fascinating. We are descending into the murky, uncharted waters of our own past to look at shadows in the deep, mermaids, and the chilling possibility of a suppressed ancient history. Now, this isn't your typical fairy tale. Not at all. We're exploring an eerie, mythic narrative that honestly feels like we're uncovering a forgotten epoch, like a drowned kingdom that humanity was perhaps never, ever meant to remember. Okay, let's dive into this. Are mermaids merely myths, just figments of overactive ancient imaginations? Or do they represent a suppressed cultural memory of human evolution from the sea? Could these aquatic beings actually be our ancient relatives, or something far more complex lurking in the dark depths of our shared lineage? It's a wild thought, right? To try and answer that, we're framing today's explainer as an investigation. We're going to examine 3 specific historical fragments, think of them as exhibits of evidence, that piece together a hidden narrative of humanity's past and our deeply complex interactions with the water. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. We are visually anchoring our mystery deep in antiquity, tracing the earliest recorded mentions of these beings, starting way back around 2000 BCE in Sumer, moving to 1000 BCE with the Assyrian goddess Ishtar, and hitting 600 BCE with the Babylonian deity Atargatis. Exhibit 1, the genetic memory. So, traveling back to the cradle of civilization in ancient Sumer, the world's first known records etched a frankly startling story in clay. Our source material highlights a highly provocative claim based on these ancient texts that the Anunnaki, who were ancient deities, were literally trying to engineer a solution for their labor shortages. The translations suggest they went through several iterations of creatures, basically trying to build the perfect workforce to help mine gold and carry their heavy burdens. Now, what's really interesting about this is the explicit connection it makes to our own biology. The text cites a theory that Homo sapiens were actually genetically modified hominids created by a being named Enki. Just look at this quote from the source. We have fused chromosomes, number 23 and 24. This can only be done in a laboratory setting. I mean, wow. It is a striking interpretation of ancient texts that blends mythology straight into modern genetics. Which prompts a massive question. Could these half-human, half-fish beings be the products of that exact same ancient genetic experimentation? You see, ancient cylinder seals from the Sumerian era don't just depict mermaids in isolation. They show them right alongside other engineered mythical creatures, like hydras and cyclops. It really makes you wonder, were merfolk just another one of Enki's early creations? Were they subjects of an ancient genetic lab? Exhibit 2, the Sea Deities. As we move forward in time to Babylon and Assyria, the status of these aquatic beings fundamentally shifts. They aren't depicted just as experiments anymore. For instance, if we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, literally one of the oldest recorded stories in human history, it highlights the goddess Ishtar emerging from the ocean, and she is described specifically as having fish-like attributes. So the crucial point is how these ancient peoples rationalized these forms. Ancient carvings actually show Ishtar with legs, which suggests to some researchers that she might have utilized swimming devices. Yes, basically ancient flippers. Meanwhile, the Babylonian goddess Atargatis was said to have transformed into a fish out of shame. But the key takeaway here is that both of them were worshipped as powerful protectors of the sea, even venerated in massive temples equipped with sizable swimming pools. In our cultural memory, they had completely evolved from lab creations to revered deities. Exhibit 3. Equals or enslaved? And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict. As we transition from the ancient gods to the treacherous encounters of later centuries, we have to question the true power dynamics. On one side, you have ancient man, driven by a deeply rooted anxiety and a relentless desire to capture, conquer, or extract supernatural knowledge from the unknown. But on the other side, the merfolk are elusive, fiercely protective of their watery domain, and operating on an entirely non-human agenda. The source notes that the water's edge acts as this incredibly volatile portal. These encounters happen in what the text describes as contact zones. These are social spaces where cultures meet, clash, and grapple with each other, often in contexts of highly asymmetrical relations of power. In these zones, trying to embrace a water spirit could literally prove lethal. You were never quite sure who was the predator and who was the prey. Historically, it seems humanity negotiated its place with these beings through three recurring plots. First, you have fleeting interspecies encounters at the water's edge, just a quick glimpse. Second, the merwife relationship, where a human actually marries a water spirit. And third, the abduction of a human, dragged down into the depths. These three plots basically dictate how we try to rationalize sharing an animated, very dangerous universe with them. Section 4. The Inner Motivations. So, did the internal drives of mermaids ever truly mirror those of ancient man? Well, the short answer is no. Unlike human greed or sexual desire, the text shows that ancient sirens lured sailors with supernatural knowledge of life, death, and the future. The fairy Melusina simply demanded that her hidden dual serpent nature be respected by her human husband. And in early modern folklore, merfolk sought basic resources, provided wealth, or just wanted revenge for stolen items. They were driven by survival and a firm demand for respect across the species divide. Okay, let's dive into our final section, a suppressed pattern. When we map out these three exhibits together, a chilling pattern emerges. We start to see a suppressed story about human history. Just look at how the power dynamic devolved. In the Sumerian era, merfolk are depicted as Enki's creations, genetic subjects or enslaved laborers. Then, by the Babylonian era, they are elevated to deities like Atargatis and Ishtar, worshipped as enslavers or at least are equals. But fast forward to the early modern period, and they become sirens and fairies like Melusina, feared anomalies and hunted outcasts. We literally went from engineering them to worshipping them to hunting them down. So, why don't we see them today? The text shares a brilliant critical theory. Mermaids might be an extinct category of being. Basically, this means they are an entity belonging to their own cultural universe, judged through a framework of understanding, an epistemic framework, that is no longer active today. We literally cannot process them anymore because our modern, neatly ordered worldview just has no social equivalent to understand them. Which leaves us with one final, lingering thought to wrap up today's explainer. If these beings were our ancient relatives, or the products of ancient genetic creations, are they truly extinct? Or, as our cultural memories heavily suppress them, are they just waiting out of sight, down in the dark, watery depths of our own forgotten history? It's something to think about next time you look out at the ocean. Thank you for joining me. Keep analyzing the shadows, keep questioning the past, and I'll see you next time.